Hi everybody, this is Patricia here. It's the end of my week with teaching you. For Unit 6 and 32 this week we made a horror film and we gave you guys the opportunity to come up with a story, to write your logline, to share your logline. Some of you wrote scripts, you got to share your scripts, you got to post them in the group. We read through the scripts, we discussed best practice for writing scripts. Now, seeing as we've gone through all three groups, what I'd like to do is show you where I've shared the feedback and the slides. So here's group A at the moment. So you see for their horror short Karma, it's got the cast, it's got the crew, and if you want, you can write a blog post on the exercise and share it with your group. I've shared their slides here, but as with all of our classes, if you go to the About page, and scroll down to where we have lecture notes, you can see here the Google Slides for which say week 5A, and similarly for B group we'll have here week 5B, and for the E group we'll have week 5E. So what we've got in each of these presentations, okay, in each of these presentations is your shooting exercise feedback. So while I was sitting in the background, ignore my Facebook notification there. While I was sitting in the background, I was seeing what you were doing and making notes. So what we were doing this week is for you to complete a short film shoot and learn best practice on set and learn through experience. And I'd like you to reflect on how you did. Okay, so here's the A group and the roles that we had on set. For all of you, we had a chat about script writing. If you're looking at which script writing software to use, your slides here have links to Celtx or Celtx. I don't know how it's pronounced. I call it Celtx. Final Draft, Writer Duet, and Adobe Story. For all three groups, we discussed how script writing is in the present tense, how you always say this happens, this happens, this happens. There's no this happens whilst that happens. There's no this was happening or this is going to happen. It's always present tense. And then we discussed how we can conjugate the infinitive to present tense, that there are three ways of conjugating the infinitive. So if we have he and we have the verb to run, we say he runs, he does run, or he is running. But because every word has to fight to be on the page and we have to be as concise as possible and to the point as possible, we remove any ing words. So instead of he is running, we say he runs. Okay? And we have to have external action only. We cannot include thoughts in the script. Now, we all talked about how to schedule a setup, and a setup is every time the camera moves its starting position. So think of it as one of your storyboard frames. So whenever you move, it's a new setup. Then we talked about how long it would take to set the camera, set the lights, set sound, block and rehearse, run the take, make sure you've got your perfect take and one for safety, and move on. So for a normal setup, that's 30 minutes per setup. If it's a difficult setup, so it has a dolly or a steady cam or something like that, it's 45 minutes per setup. And if it's something really basic, handheld, quick, cutaway, it's 15 minutes per setup. So for you, for your scheduling, we gave you 20 minutes per setup roughly, and all three groups did really well at sticking to the schedule. Okay, so we calculated how many setups you could actually do. Okay, so this is the A group's new terms and concepts. So I'm doing this video so you can actually see what each group learnt and learn from them. Okay, so for all three groups, we learnt pack in and pack out. So whenever you're scheduling, you allocate time for getting the equipment into the room, into place and setting up, and packing everything away and putting it away. So pack in and pack out time. We gave 30 minutes for each group to do so, but for a larger film shoot, then you'd be giving an hour or 2 hours. The A group had a production meeting at the start of the shoot, so they brought everybody together. The first AD and the director had a few words, I had a few words, and it just helped to bring everyone together. That was only the A group though, but it's a good idea to have when you start shooting. Most groups, we talked about saying striking before you turn on the lights. So by saying striking, that indicates to anybody in hearing distance that you're about to switch on a big bright light, that they should look away or blink, close their eyes momentarily so they're not blinded. And we made sure that we had the sound file on the slate and in the script supervision record, which I think all three groups did. Okay, the A group did good preparation. They actually spent time during the break preparing their shoots. But it's very important to actually take breaks, because if you go non-stop for 6 hours, then it could be quite dangerous for health and safety. So it's very important to take breaks. It was very clear direction. It was good working with the actors. We were talking about house lights, so those are the lights in the room, and that you need to be very clear when you want house lights on or house lights off. Okay, house lights on, house lights off. We were talking about ticking clocks in the background, how the sound recordist needs to listen out, and anything that has a regular tone or any sort of tone can make life difficult for the editor. We were talking about the good communication that was happening between departments, and the AD was very good at timekeeping. We all want to make sure that the slate is in shot when the camera turns over. This will make thumbnails for the editor. So that's that first frame, as long as the slate is in there, that is the first thumbnail for the editor, and it will make life easier for the editor. So the AC needs to be on point and in there as soon as the AD says turn over. Okay? And for all three groups, when you are calling action, allow a bit of time before for the let the actor know to take a moment and then move into to start the action. And similarly, before you yell cut, allow some time, allow some lead out time. That breathing room will help you in the edit, because it gives you a few more options, like you could fade out slowly if it works better for the pacing, things like that. So allow more time to pass before you say cut. Okay. They did really good slating, and make sure that this is for all three groups, that when you are slating, you go in with the sticks open, and if you're closer to the actor, it's soft sticks, so it's smaller, okay? Partially open, not fully open. For all of you, I've set up a folder called BTS Stills. So if you took any behind the scenes footage or behind the scenes stills, I'd like you to upload those into the team drive, okay, which is useful for if we do any writing a blog post about the exercise, but it's also useful when you come to do your promotional video, and we'll be learning more about that soon. You don't need to call first positions if everybody's already at their first positions. That's only if they need to go back to first position. And we were talking about the lights in the room didn't need to change. They just needed to be set and only have minimal changes. Say if you're going from a wide shot to a close up, then maybe you bring the lights in a bit closer, but you don't need to make massive changes. And the lighting setup needs to be on the floor plan. Okay, we all learnt, me personally as well, that we need to make sure the batteries are charging at the end of the day, okay? So from now on, we make sure all the batteries are charged. We need to look at our lens changing technique. You're going to be learning about white balance. This is something I think you'll find at the A group when you're editing. When you're shooting, put your phones on airplane mode. If they're on silent, they can still cause disruption for these sound recordists. Okay, and rather than watching back your footage, if you're not sure, just go again. It's going to be a lot quicker. So rather than saying, oh, let's just play it back and watch a 2-minute clip, nah, just go again. Okay, and the DP is the one who communicates with the AC and makes sure that these the sticks on the slate are in frame, because I saw at least one missed opportunity for synchronizing. Okay, so that's the A group. Let's have a quick look at the B group and what they learnt. So for their horror short, their roles on set were here. So that was today. Here we go. Here's who our crew were. Okay, we've got the same comments here. When you are walking in front of the camera, if somebody is behind the camera operating the camera, you need to say crossing before you walk in front of the camera, so that the person who's operating isn't, worried about the sudden blackness walking and, crossing the camera. So you say crossing, then you walk in front of the camera. You don't need to say it if nobody's behind the camera and nobody's looking at the monitor, but it's just a way of indicating that you're walking in front. Okay, there was good communication. The thing to pay attention to is if we haven't got all crew roles covered, so things like the art director, if somebody calls out, we need this, we need that, everybody who's not currently doing something, so if you're like gaffer or AD or sound recordist or clapper loader, you can put down what you're holding to and jump in and help, because we didn't fill every role and I don't want to see anybody sitting there not doing anything. Similarly, we're talking about allow more time before saying cut and a bit more time between action and the action starting. Okay, I don't want to see the director doing what's not their job. Okay, so this is where the director and the DP need to be looking in the monitor and seeing the shot and then directing other people to be, turning off house lights, moving things, placing markers. Okay. Thing to pay attention to is, whilst it's important to make sure everybody's on time, if you're constantly saying, okay, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, it's going to start stressing people out. So it comes with experience to actually consider, is now the right time to be passing this information on? The E-group also had this issue of, does the AD start calling out how much time we have? Do we start hurrying along? But we needed to take the time to resolve some issues. So part of being an AD is learning when to push people along publicly, when to push people along privately and quietly, and when to just allow for flexibility in your schedule but not share it with people. And it comes with experience. It's a bit hard to judge. Okay, I've given a link for best practice for actors marks, which I can share in Classroom for everyone. With the sound recordist, remember to drop a shoulder, so that will protect your back. So that's a way of protecting your shoulders so they don't hurt so much, and get as close as possible as you can. And if you have an actor tied up for an extended period, don't just leave them tied up. Do actually ask them if they need a drink or if they need to go to the bathroom. Allow time for them to get up and not be stuck to the chair continuously. Okay, when you're directing, don't tell actors how to read lines. Don't say to them, this is how I want it, or don't read the lines to them, because they'll think that that they should be saying exactly how you said it, and then that makes their job useless and you won't get a good performance. Okay. Okay, you need to make sure that you have at least one perfect take, and I've got some notes here for the script supervisor. The A group struggled a little bit with this as well, is if everybody's saying good, okay, yeah, it's good, yeah, it's good, yeah, it's good, then that's just okay. When they say it's fantastic, yeah, I'm happy, that was great, that was excellent, that's when you put G for good. And for each setup, you need at least one take that has good in camera, in sound, and from the director. Okay, so just assume all the takes are good, but only write G for good, and if it's excellent, fantastic, yep, that's it. That's on the nose, that's perfect. Okay, if you're doing script supervision, you put NG for takes that are no good, and you put a reason for why they're no good, like no good sound, airplane, NG sound, chatting in the background, NG camera out of focus. Okay, and make sure you have a take for safety. So once you've got it perfect, just do it once more, just for safety, and move on. Okay, and lastly, for the E group, who learnt quite a bit in today's shoot, which is fantastic, we only had 3 crew members and me on set, so these guys did really well. Okay, so what we learnt, so here we go, pack in and pack out, striking and crossing. We looked at different ways of directing and working with actors. We had where there could have easily been tension on set. The AD sometimes needs to just step back and let the director and actor work through an issue, like discuss it and try it, even if you're running behind schedule. And again, that comes with experience and just letting things go. We managed to take photos of the setup so we could show the actor if things weren't quite clear, or if the DP can see something that the director can't, they can take a photo and show the photo. We were looking at using suggestion for the actors to help the actor get to where they want to. So we wanted to have an actor breathing heavily, being out of breath, being panicky, wanting to get away from a supernatural force. So we were saying it's as though you've just come home and you want to rush upstairs and play your video game. Or it's as though it's that feeling when you're a child and you're running up this, you feel that there's a presence at the bottom of the stairs, so you sprint up the stairs and you want to get away from it. So it's as though as a directing style. We were looking at ways of directing the actor in terms of their blocking. So that's where they're standing, where they're moving. So that's the physical nature of their performance. So it's things like, okay, twist your body towards the camera, or take a step to the left, take a step to the right, bring your hand up to your face. Okay. We got to use the reflector, or otherwise known as a flecky where I'm from, or the bounce, which we'll need to cover in a different class for everybody else. And we were bouncing light off the ceiling, which was great. Okay, so for everybody, for reflection, I want you to think about what you learnt on set and what you would do differently next time. And if you want to write a reflective blog post about this exercise, please do. I also recommend that you try editing the footage. So I'm currently uploading. Let's see where we're at for uploading. Oh, I've got 14 minutes left for group B, and I've still got to upload their sound files. And for group E, okay, we're still going. So we're uploading files. So I recommend that you download the files and try editing them. And I'm going to upload the scripts. So you might like to try and edit the files from another group. Read the script and see if you can cut it together. Okay, everyone, thank you very much, and I will see you next week. Have a good weekend.